But what's been happening during your brief hiatus there, Tony? Have you been researching more on what's going on? Have you formulated new ideas contrary to what you had before?
Oh, most definitely. And one specific is to the opening of the Abyss, Apollo's temple, Apollyon, and the connection of CERN to the opening of the Abyss and where that's located.
I can't leave it there. Where is this abyss? Where is this located, Tony?
Well, I was giving you a lead in case you were taking a break here, but yes, CERN is located at the ancient Roman site of the temple to the sun god Apollo, Apollyon, and has been believed for many, many years, for thousands of years, that that is the location of the abyss. CERN is the key to the abyss. CERN, in opening an interdimensional portal, physically will be providing access to the abyss, which is the center of the Earth. And that is also connected to the prison planet that we've talked about before, and you mentioned a moment ago, and that's Saturn.
Now, Tony, before the break, you were talking about quark gluon concentrates, and this is something that we have covered on the show before, but we have new listeners now, and these are basically strangelets. Now, what gets me is, Tony, at one point we were almost thinking that strangelets may well just be the public kind of woo that they were trying to distract us with, but you've kind of changed your opinion on that now, haven't you?
Yeah, it does appear that they are using one of the three main characteristics of strangelets, primarily its explosive potential, given that it's the most powerful explosive in the known universe. They want to employ this to rip a veil in the fabric of space. This is their mechanism to open up that portal that they have been very open about to another dimension. And later on after that, and this is pretty strange to even say, but their ultimate goal is to kill God. So they will use it as a weapon against God and his forces, or so they think.
And through that CERN hole, stargate, rift, whatever name you want to put on it, they intend to bring interdimensional beings to this plane. And that's something that we are going to get into as we progress as well. But Tony, these strangelets, these are the kind of things that when CERN was talking about carrying out these behemoth collisions, people, even in the mainstream, were saying, well, hold on a minute, this has the potential to maybe be a black hole and gobble up the planet. Is there any truth to that, or is that actually, potentially, a likelihood?
Well, I think we have a larger issue than we do with black holes, and that goes back to the strangelets and the use of that as an explosive. I think it does have the ability to alter the fabric of space at a very small microscopic level. And once that occurs, then you can have this widening of that very small opening that they create. And that will be controlled by the computer, the quantum computer that we're not naming. But that will create a ever-widening rift, and they will have a limit to that. It'll be limited in size, but they'll stabilize that rift and establish a permanent interdimensional connection through which these entities will travel through. So black holes are a holdover from the Big Bang Theory. And the Big Bang Theory encompasses Einstein's theory of relativity. Black holes are theoretical. They've never been proven mathematically or experimentally, meaning physically proven. You can't measure it, you can't reproduce it in the laboratory, therefore it does not exist. So black holes are theoretical, and I know that Stephen Hawking has put out, his concern about the creation of black holes, but to date, they've never been detected nor proven.
And as much as he is my hero, he does have a vested interest in the existence of black holes because he's basically created his whole career around that theory, hasn't he?
He has, and of late what he's moved into is very much akin to what I'm describing as this rift in the dimension in the fabric of space. He calls it the vacuum. He's moved beyond the black hole scenario into the opening up of a small vacuum that will continue at the speed of light to increase in size, and virtually instantaneously, beyond our level of comprehension or detection, it will essentially suck up the universe into another dimension through this vacuum that he postulates. So he's moved beyond the black hole into a vacuum scenario, which I also call the opening of the interdimensional rift.
And I hope a lot of people didn't lose their brains out of a vacuum in the side of their head there. But Tony, one of the things we were harping on about at the time when we first got you on and we called on your knowledge of this physics was the fact we were pointing to right now, September time. Now, I'd love it if you could just spend a couple of moments explaining for the listeners what's going on just now and how that differs from, say, December, when the real explosions get underway.
Well, that's great. Good question. Right now, what they're doing essentially are colliding protons. These are relatively lightweight particles. Some people like to say they're smashing rocks together. And that's producing anywhere from 8 to 13 TeV, and that's really for calibration. They're moving into cleaning or scrubbing of the main ring where these particles are traveling so that they can then bring in ions of lead. They're moving from colliding protons together. They're going to be colliding small particles of lead, which of course are much denser. And because of that higher density and its higher resting mass, which they then increase by 14,000 times, with moving those ions to near the speed of light, they are going to generate significantly higher levels of energy during these collisions, and also a higher production rate of strangelets. It is, and you're illustrating a very good point here, and that is there are two separate layers of public relations going on with CERN. CERN will talk about in public things that are associated with Einstein and Einstein's gravity model of the universe. And I mentioned a few minutes ago the electric model, which we can assign to, if you need to Tesla. So you have two different camps as to the theory of how the universe is put together and what its processes are. The hidden process that is fully utilized at CERN but never acknowledged in public is the electric model of the universe. And we've had long discussions about that, but I'm making it very brief here, that CERN will talk about gravity and the Big Bang, and they know full well the Big Bang is nothing. It's theoretical. They can't even prove it, but they put that out for public consumption.
And you know,
at the same time,
the public should be aware of this, Tony, because we should know anytime they make a fanfare and a song and dance, symmetry, about anything, we know that the real truth is hidden, occulted, well away in the black projects, far from the prying eyes of us in the public.
You got it. Absolutely they do. And the dance of symmetry was illustrating the electric universe and the occult spiritual world, that they know you can't separate spiritual and physical. And so they are practicing the spiritual, which happens to be occult spiritual practices. That's what they're employing. And they're drawing their information from the spiritual world that they're using to build this machine and have built this machine.
And you know, Tony, when you look at that video, and for anyone out there, maybe it's just me, but you see the black and the white, the dark and the light, having this dance, circling one another. And this, 2015, the year of light at CERN, it's almost as if they are using the light at that speed of light to call forth the dark side, to open up the hole to the abyss. Before we get to what may or may not be coming through there, Tony, just a quick brief word about this Saturn and why it is that it is so revered in the dark circles?
Well, the stories revolve around Saturn being a prison planet, which has imprisoned demonic entities and, if you will, fallen angels. And it is their goal to unlock that prison and allow those entities to join with those that reside within the abyss within our planet. And it sounds far-fetched, but this is their belief. And we've gone through before talking about the connection of CERN to the southern pole of Saturn, and the spiral there, the replication at the north pole of the Large Hadron Collider at the north pole of Saturn, the identical machine on a much larger scale exists at the north pole of Saturn. They wish to connect the southern pole of Saturn to the Earth electrically using Birkeland currents through a toroidal field, a magnetic donut, so that they can transport these entities from Saturn back to the Earth. Those are fallen angels.
Wow.